know about you, but I just love trying out new art supplies. Some things work, some things don't, but it's always fun seeing how I can enhance my painting practice with something new. In this video, I want to share with you 5 of the coolest art supplies that I've come across over the years that have really helped me as an artist, but that you might not have ever heard of before. First off, empty paint tubes. These things are so cool. You can see they come in a couple of different sizes. I've put links in the description to all of the products that I go over in this video, but these are great. You can mix up colors of paint. If you see that painting back there behind me, the specific green that I have made there, I use it in a lot of my paintings. And it's not a color that I can get in a tube. I mix it myself. And so what I like to do, and this saves me so much time, is I like to mix up a large tube of it, and then I can make sure that I have the same color in all the paintings that I'm making. Because what I do is I paint custom pet portraits, and I have color schemes that people can choose from. And this color scheme back here is my color scheme C. This is a very popular color scheme, and it has to have that particular green in it. And so when I can mix up an entire tube worth of it, then I can just squeeze that out of the tube. I don't have to mix it up for each painting, and I know that it has color consistency across all of my paintings. Next is red tracing paper. I love this. It's so much better to use than the graphite colored tracing paper. Tracing paper speeds up the process of transferring your image that you're going to paint to your canvas. You can of course draw it by hand, but that takes a lot of extra time. And there's no need to do that when you can use tracing paper. But the red tracing paper is so great because when you are painting, especially if you're painting in a lot of colors like I do, you can see my work back there. When you're painting with all those colors, you can cover up the red tracing paper a lot easier than the gray lines from the graphite colored tracing paper. Also, if you ever want to paint on a black gessoed canvas, you can trace with red tracing paper on there, but the graphite color will not work because it will just blend in with the background. Next, I want to show you watercolor creams. Now, these are technically a watercolor, not an acrylic paint product, but I use them while I'm acrylic painting a lot of times, especially when I'm making abstract work. You can use them to draw lines that are really fat, kind of looking like crayons, but then you can add water to it and have blending areas. They also come in lots of colors, so you can match them to any of the acrylic paints that you're using. They're really fun to work with. Next is wax paper. Now, you might not have thought of using wax paper while you're acrylic painting, but I love to use wax paper to cover my palettes with. Then I put my paint on there, and when I'm done, I just wad it up and throw it in the trash. So it makes a really great disposable painting palette. But the other thing that I've used wax paper for, and you might not have thought of this, if you make a painting and it's really thick in acrylics, usually it dries to the touch within a few hours, sometimes within 24 hours. But if you're going to be shipping this, especially if it's thick layers of paint, and oftentimes I paint impasto where there's very thick layers. If you're painting this way, it takes about a week for it to fully cure. And if you ever have to sell one of those paintings, like within a couple of days of painting it and ship it out to a customer, it's kind of tricky because sometimes even though the top layer is dry, the underneath layers might not be. And whatever you're packaging the painting with could stick to it. And when they unwrap it, when they get it in the mail, especially if it was like mailed during a hot day or something, it could remove some of the paint, and that would be really bad. But if you wrap your painting in wax paper before you wrap it in the bubble wrap or whatever you're going to do to ship it, it won't do that. That's why it's always good to have a roll of wax paper just in case you have to ship a painting out within a couple of days of painting it. Next is Sennelier abstract paint. This stuff is so fun to work with. Oh my gosh, if you've never tried it, you can make really cool textures with it. And they give you these little paint nubs, and basically you squeeze the paint out onto the canvas. And it's so cool because it's really thickly applied and it leaves lots of fun textures. You can see one of the abstract paintings I made here, the same one that I showed you a little bit ago where I had used the watercolor creams, because I love to use different types of paint whenever I'm making abstracts. And so I often combine the watercolor creams with the Sennelier abstracts because you can apply them in unusual ways to create really fun textures. Plus, you need very little skills to work with this abstract paint. You're just squeezing it out onto the canvas. But if you'd like a more in-depth look and how-to on the Sennelier abstract paint, you can watch the video I made right here that tells you all about it. All right, thank you so much for watching. See you next time.